like, do you think that the way that you're speaking to mama is a good way to speak to me? And they'll immediately go, say, well, what do you mean? Well, the tone that you're using is a little bit hurtful. Do you understand why that hurts me when you speak to me that way? And all of a sudden they're like, oh, yes, mommy. Okay, I'm sorry. So, and then they catch themselves. And something else I've done is I've used actually, comic relief and a sense of humor. So there are times that I'll turn around and, like maybe they'll speak to me in a nasty tone, and I'll turn around and I'll say something like, are you talking to me? And they'll immediately laugh like, oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble. But we laugh a little bit and they're like, I'm sorry, mommy. So I think, and again, and I have boys, and I know that the dynamic with girls is probably very, very different. But my husband and I were just talking about this the other day, how by doing the, are you talking to me, or tickling them when they're starting to fight and go, or another thing that I do that they absolutely love, like when they're bickering in the back seat, I'll do this. Watch, I'll go like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. So I'll do that, and they just start cracking up, and then they forget that they're bickering about a pencil because you lent me the pencil and I'm trying to write my comic and give it to me for 2 more minutes, and then I'll just do something crazy, and then they'll just start laughing, and then I'll say, okay, who gets the pencil, guys? Come on, 2 minutes, and then let's just, let's call it a day. And then that's it. It's taken care of. And again, I'm the mom of boys, and I know that with girls, that's probably very, very different. So I'm able to discipline them in that way where they kind of, they reflect, they catch on to what's happening. They're able to make their own decisions, and then we can just move right on,
Yeah, with me, with punishment, with Xavier, what we were doing, we would take away, he movie privilege. He couldn't sit, and be part of family night when we were family movie night. And I found that it just got him resentful. He resented it, and it would just, he'll act out even more the next day. He'll act out even more the following day, because then it'll be like, well, you don't get the movie the whole week now. And then I learned that, again, what you were saying earlier about punishment working better when they're older versus when they're younger, I learned firsthand, and seeing how the repercussions were like when punishing him in that way. When we would take something, we're like, okay, well then no access to an iPad for a week. And by the next day, he already even forgot about the iPad. He was over it and playing something else. So because he had access to toys and everything else, it really didn't matter anymore. So out of sight, out of mind. And so taking something for a week really was irrelevant for a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. And I get it, my son is very smart for his age, and sometimes I have to remind myself, and my husband especially, it's like, look, he is smart, but he's still 5, he's still a kid. So he's still going to be a kid in the way he's going to react to certain situations, and you've got to keep that in mind. And kind of want to share that tip as well, when sometimes you're disciplining your kids, and it's like, how come they don't get it? How come they don't get it? And one thing I loved about Bill Cosby, when he's joking around, he's like, kids are brain damaged, you tell them not to do this, and they do it anyway. It just cracks me up when I see that show. And that's with me, with when it came to punishment. And even, when you feel like you're hitting a wall, and it's like, my God, like nothing seems to be working. We were talking about spanking, and there were times that I just spanked him in the butt because I'm like, freaking get it already, and he just wasn't going through. And on the contrary, he just acted out even more when we would react that way. So it never improved the situation. And so
as I said, I haven't punished Mason, but everything that I want to say comes under this umbrella of punishment and hand in hand with spanking. For me, as a parent coach, and for somebody that's been working with children for a very long time, what I want parents to do is get their kids where it hurts, but not through spanking. So that would be the removal of privileges. So with my stepson, years back, my thing is that your kids have to take you at your word. We actually have, we wrote a book on Nanny 911, and we came up with these 11 commandments of Nanny 911. Basically, rules that you can follow so that you don't end up like the parents on Nanny 911.
Oh,
so
cool.
Actions have consequences. One of the biggest things, say what you mean and mean what you say. So we had a situation with my stepson where we told him, my husband loves to go dirt bike riding, and if you can imagine the nanny with her hat on and her cape in the wind, I have a quad. Anyway, long story short, the deal was if my stepson got good grades in school, and when I say good grades, again, you have to be realistic.
Right.
My stepson is very creative, but he's not very academic. So we said to him, you have to get C's and above. If you're struggling with anything, you have to come home and tell us. But you have to maintain C's and above to get this dirt bike. Long story short, he got the dirt bike. But the deal was, you don't maintain those C's without telling us you're having a problem, and you don't get to ride the dirt bike.
Right.
Well, when it came to taking the dirt bike away, that was me. My husband's the best friend. I'm Cruella de Vil.
Right.
So it made me feel, that's why I said to you, punishment makes me feel bad, because, you know, there I am on the pedestal, you know, I get to take it away. But the thing was, I got to buy it too, you know, and it was a deal. It was a consequence and an action.
Yeah. Why is it the guys get to be the cool ones and we're the Cruella de Vil? So why that happens in my house too sometimes, and I tell my husband, I said, man, no wonder men hate women. We're always the one that have to be the cruel ones. That's so funny.
He's not getting away with that with Mason. I am going to be Queen Bee.
That's right.
But the thing is, my husband, you know, he spanked when I met him, and I encouraged him not to. And all joking apart, there were days where I wish I never took that spanking away. Now, I shouldn't be saying that, because I'm a parent coach, and we shouldn't be spanking our kids. But you have to find something that replaces spanking. So it's something that's really important to your kids. So, for example, with Valeska, my observation there would be the iPad. It would be the iPad. If the iPad's so important to you, then you're going to lose that privilege. But under the umbrella of spanking, I have to tell you, I don't agree with spanking whatsoever. I believe I get in a lot of trouble when I go to the South and people ask me why I ain't taking a whip to those kids.
Right.
But I don't believe in spanking. I've never heard anybody. It's not premeditated. Spanking's because you're angry and you're reacting. And it's not like, maybe it is premeditated that you know, but I've never had anybody tell me that they ask their child to come home at 4 o'clock for their regular spanking.
Right.
You know, it's not, to me, it's not effective. And I also think it reinforces anger and frustration, that when you're mad, you can lash out.
Exactly.
So, unless somebody wants to sit me down and really re-educate me, I try, well, I don't do it, but I encourage people to avoid it at all